Okay, so we're back. This right here is a 2018. It's a Isuzu NPR. These also come in the form of a Chevy. They're the same. They're the same difference. The only difference is, the labels and the tags on these trucks, but they're really all Isuzus. So today we're going to be going over this HD 3300. Let me turn off the radio. Alright, so this tool is actually pretty damn cool. To start off, I always go to settings, I go to Wi-Fi, and I go ahead and connect to one of these. Let me see. Let's try this one here. Boom. Let's go. Anywho, after doing that, you usually want to check to see and make sure that you're at the latest update. I do actually have the latest update, so we're not even worried about that. Anyways, you're going to have a few different connections that you can actually use on this thing. You got your OBD2. That's if you're using the DLC 16-pin connector. You also have your diesel OBD, which is actually the Deutsch connector, which can be a 6 or a 9-pin. It just depends. Older trucks usually got the 6. Newer trucks got the 9. It depends if you're connecting to ABS, if you're connecting to the engine. It just depends what you're going to use it for. Alright, either way, let's get into the tool. Like I said, you want to update this tool. It's important to update it. As far as like what you can do with the tool, let's jump into it. Again, this tool is actually for auto and diesel, so it just depends what you're working on. It does have some bi-directional controls. There's things that you can control. Depends what module you can connect to. But for the most part, I mean, this thing's been really good. I bought it because I'm actually trying to make some side money. I'm trying to get some money. We're all trying to get money. At least we should be trying to. So right here, we're going to connect to the truck. I did have codes here. No longer do I have the codes. One of the codes that I had was P420. Another one of the codes, let me see if we have any pending codes. So this right here is actually where it shows like, hey, you can connect to these different brands. Which of course, we're not going to connect to. But we will connect to an Isuzu. But look, there's a lot of different brands. Kia, Hyundai, Suzuki, Subaru, Mitsubishi, Mazda, Honda, Nissan, Saab, Toyota, Volvo, Porsche, Jaguar, BMW, Benz, Chrysler, Ford, and GM. So this actually has like a lot of things you can connect to, a lot of things you can diagnose. Whether it's a simple code pull or whether you want to actually get into advanced diagnostics. This will actually help you out pretty well. So we're going to go to the Isuzu. It says system's okay. So we don't have any actual pending codes. So let's go and see if we have any codes that are active. We can make codes go active, but of course, this is not something that I want to do right now at the moment. So we're going to say read stored codes. Isuzu, system's okay. Alright. Let me see, I am Readiness. You actually get quite a bit of information on this thing right here. If you're trying to buy like a used car, you definitely want to check the readiness of the, vehicle. You don't want to buy a car that someone just reset the codes on 20 minutes ago. Because there is times where somebody might have reset the code and now it's not gonna pick up the actual fault code till maybe the 5th drive cycle or whatnot, or you gotta drive so many miles till it comes on. You do have a lot of people though that will be out there and they will do stuff like that, so be very careful. This tool right here will actually pay for itself. It has for me. I go and I work with different companies and I'm like, hey, I can diagnose your truck. I can actually give you a printout of what may be wrong with this vehicle. I can tell you what you need to do with the vehicle. I can tell you what's wrong with the vehicle. I can tell you if the vehicle is going to break down and you're going to be stranded somewhere. A lot of these companies really need these trucks running, and it's very important for them to be able to have their truck on the road. With these DPF EGR systems, it's very important that they get DPF. I'm sorry, not DPF. It's very important that they actually get regen whenever they have to be regen. Reason being is that, they will go into limp mode. They will shut down to 5 miles an hour. Now, with this scan tool, as you can see, it's picking up on a lot of things. And it's actually pretty fast. It picks up fast. It's not like, it has a lot of lag, but there is a lot of information on here. If you want to put one of the, let's say that you want to look at the times and starts. Let's say you want to look up the number of warm-ups since the DTC has been cleared. Let's say you want to look up the ambient temperature. You actually go ahead and hit on that, and it goes all the way to the top. That way, if you have to diagnose something, by a parameter, you actually can put these all the way up to the top. That way you can actually start diagnosing. And if you look at this, it gives you tons of freaking information, man. Like, you have almost enough information to where, this is actually very comparable to the scan tool that you might actually use at the dealership. We actually use J-Pro here, and we actually do have the Isuzu program, which is actually really good. But at this point, I can pretty much do almost every and anything that I can do on that. I actually haven't seen if I can reprogram the injectors yet, but at some point I'll go ahead and do that. But as I said, this thing right here, it gets a lot of information, that you may need, you may not need. You'll have important information, let's say fuel pressure, fuel temperature. This is very important. Sometimes you'll actually jump into one of these Isuzus and you'll have problems with the fuel. Not only will you have problems with the fuel, you have problems with the fuel pressure, the fuel flow, obviously, anything that faults the fuel will give problems to the DPF. It may not burn right, may not get up to temperature, but this right here will tell you all of that. And look, I'm gonna show you something. This thing right here, you can actually graph things. Look, you can graph the EGR duty, and it'll actually change, obviously with speeds, with loads. I'm putting it in reverse, and you see a change right there. Obviously, if your EGR, putting it back in park, intake airflow, position A, the command, the actual desired. This thing has so many things that you can actually look at. Like the commanded fuel, and then obviously the desired fuel. You can do so much with this. These are just a few things that you can do. You can check, your turbo boost pressure, your turbo temperature, inlet, outlet. You can check your actual DPF, the pressure. There's so much things that you can do with this damn thing. I actually put on a brand new filter. As you can see, I have the old filter over there, and I put a brand new filter on this. But now look, so you've seen that, there's a lot of things you can do on this thing, but I'm going to show you a really cool thing with this thing. We're going to go down here, and as a matter of fact, you know what? It's not on this actual feature. But look, man, I love this thing. Look what you can do. You can go back. We're going to go back. And this is pretty much just to diagnose, to look at parameters, to do everything. But now let's say you finished the job, you cleared the fault code. Now you want to regen the vehicle. The reason why I actually like this 3300, I reviewed a lot of the models. The 3100 was actually kind of an old model. It wasn't really relevant to what I do. This one was very relevant because, of course, I work on a lot of Isuzus. I work on a lot of M2s. I work on a lot of Cascadias, some Columbias, a lot of 4300 box trucks. I work on a lot of international trucks. I work on a lot of Detroits. I work on a lot of Freightliners. I work on a little bit of every freaking thing. So to me, it was important to have this program. I actually do work a lot on Cummins as well. But the main few is Cummins, Detroit, International, Volvo. Even though I'm not a big fan of theirs, I work on their trucks too. Paccar, quite a few. But like I said, Isuzu is kind of my bread and butter. They're easy to work on, easy to diagnose, not really hard. I mean, parts are actually very available, which is great. But let's get into it. So I'm gonna show you a few of the other brands, because I've asked, and like a lot of people won't tell you, well, what does it work on? So I'm gonna show you what it works on. So for international, you go to international, right? And the screen's gonna load up and then say, hey, what do you got? The 6-pin, the 9-pin, the OBD, whichever one. It doesn't really matter. So you go in there, and boom, these are the trucks that you can actually regen for international. And this is very important, because you want to know, hey, what do I have access to, and what could I actually work on? So you can work on these old junk Max Forces, and it actually has most of the years in here. Boom, look at that. It even has the new International A26, which is actually really impressive, because I actually didn't think that it'd have it, but this thing actually does have it. So you can actually regen all of these trucks. And when I'm telling you, like, you can actually get paid a lot of money to do a regen, there's been guys, that give me a call and they're like, hey man, how much can you, how much are you gonna charge me to do a regen? And I'm like, well, shoot, it depends how far you are, man. How far are you? Hey man, I'm located at the Buc-ee's off of such and such highway. And I'm like, okay bro, you're about 25 minutes from me. You know what? Hey, you got a good $250, man. I'll go out there, I'll clear the codes, and I'll run a regen. But if I got to do repairs, it's different. But if I'm just going to run a regen for you because you're not able to manually do your regen, because some are disabled, hey, I'm going to charge you $250. But you know what, man? To a lot of these truckers, that's really not money. That's pocket change. They got to get back on the road. They got to make money. They got to make deliveries. So this is what you get for the international side. Now, let's say you got a Caterpillar. Excuse my language. And of course, while I'm making a video, we're going to have a train that's rolling by while we're working. But it's okay. It doesn't matter. So let's see what you got to do on Cat. I'm gonna be honest, I don't work on Cat at all. But let's see what they got. And of course, you've seen that there's different connector styles. We'll see on Cat. I guess you actually got to be on the Cat, because it's actually trying to connect to the ECM, and it's not. It's telling me that it's not, just simply because this isn't a Cat engine. This is an Isuzu engine. All right, so let's go to Detroit. Let's see what Detroit has to offer. Let's go to a 9-pin 500K CPC. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see what it does, man. This one's also trying to connect, so it may not actually even show me any of the engines that are on here. Yeah, you see, it's not. This one's trying to actually connect. It's kind of crazy, but obviously on international it showed Caterpillar. It was trying to connect. Detroit was trying to connect. Let's check out Cummins. Okay, cool. Well, see, this is actually something that I actually want to show you guys. Now, this says display wiring diagram. This is actually for your connectors. This is like for your 6-pin, 9-pin, 3-pin connector. This is really cool because it actually shows you where your 1939 cables are at. So that's pretty much saying, hey, this is the CAN network. And, you can know where to, obviously check for resistance, check for continuity. Whatever check you may have to do to actually check to see if, your resistors are in line, to make sure that the 1939 harness is intact, make sure that everything's good, make sure that you don't have a communications issue. But this is like really cool though. Gives you a lot of information. There goes that 3-pin. Usually you find that on the side of a Cummins engine. This is going to be your this is going to be like your older computers. This is showing you where your CAN network's at. It's really cool. This is like a lot of really good information. A lot of scan tools actually won't give you this information. Why won't they give you this information? Because they probably expect you to go on Cummins Insight and get it anyways. But this is pretty good, man. A lot of like free information on this thing. Look at that. It just depends on what computer model you have, what year of truck you have. But this goes back pretty far though, and it's actually pretty up to date as well. So now, if we're in the diagnostic mode, you have the Smart Connect. I've actually connected to a few of these Cummins trucks and actually like to do the time consuming scan, just because it gives you the most information. It gives you actually like you can actually mess with a lot of the bidirectional controls with that one. It gives you complete access to everything that you can actually do with this scan tool. So it actually didn't show us what we can actually regen, but I'm pretty sure since it's like on the Cummins Insight, it's not the Cummins Insight, I'm tripping. I'm sure that because it's like for all Cummins engines that you can pretty much regen any and everything, because like when you're on Insight, I mean, you can pretty much control all of it, put it that way. Never worked on Fuso. Hope I'm pronouncing that right, but let's see what we can do there. Engine, combustion engine control units, MCM, so I'm pretty sure it's some kind of like motor control module. ACM, that's usually your after treatment control module. AdBlue exhaust after treatment unit, cool. That's good. Not something I'll ever use. Then you got Paccar. Let's see what they got. Boom. 9-pin Deutsch. Let me see. Number 2, 9-pin Deutsch. Type 2 green connector. Type 1 connector. OBD2 connector. So this right here is going to be your like dattling connector, kind of like you'd have in the car. The 9-pin Deutsch connector type 1 is going to be your 6-pin. The type 2, the green connector, that's going to be your 9-pin. That's like the most updated one. Let's see what we got for Volvo. Okay, so Volvo has your 8, 9, 14, and 6-pin. Cool thing right here is that yes, Mac Volvo actually uses the same hardware and software to do regens, to do the diagnostics. So the cool thing is that this freaking scan tool, even though it's only like a $300 some odd scan tool, it's very cheap, like as far as in price, but for what it can do, it's actually really amazing. I bought the scan tool off of OBDZon. I believe that's how you say it. So it's OBDZON.com. And even though the scan tool was like, let's say it was $500 on other sites, they actually sent me this scan tool for $389, I believe. And there's actually a code that you can use to get a discount. Right now, if you use the code, I actually have a code. They sent me a code for me personally. You can get a 15% discount, and you would actually have to use my last name, which is Nino, which is NINO15. And if you guys want to use the code, whoever uses it, you guys can use it. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not buying another scan tool for a while, because this is really all I need. So anyways, let's get down to the nitty gritty. So at this point, let me show you one more thing before we go into the Isuzu DPF functions, just because I want to show you how the damn thing works. When you go to the home, there's a lot of things that you can do here. So you can go to data management. Let's say you had a report. I don't have one, but if you wanted to create a report, you can create a report. You can do screenshots. Actually, I did do a screenshot a while back. I don't even remember what it was for, but like pretty much for the feedback is like, I did send them a feedback because there was some kind of control issue that I had on one of these trucks that I had, and I said, hey, feedback, can you guys tell me how I can adjust this parameter, if I can adjust this parameter. There's so many things you can do with this tool. You can actually even change like speeds to certain vehicles. So man, this thing right here is like a money maker, and I'm not kidding. So the feedback control, though, what you would do is you make a report, say, hey, you know what, I had such and such problem with the function of the scan tool. I was trying to do this, maybe I couldn't do it, maybe it went through, maybe it didn't finalize. So you tell them, hey, can you guys work on this? And they actually have a group of engineers that actually gets back to you and says, okay, we did this, now you can use the scan tool, which is great, though, because the more people that use it, the more functional it is going to be. So now look, let's go to the actual DPF. Let's go to Isuzu, because that's what we're working on. Like I said, this truck, I already replaced the filter. I already, cleaned out, the exhaust system, cleaned out the DOC. I cleaned out the SCR as much as I could. I use like these long extension blowers. I clean it all out as much as I can. I clean out the I clean out the knock sensors. I pretty much clean out everything, because whenever you do any kind of job like this, you want to make sure that you start fresh. You want to make sure everything's good. Obviously, with this scan tool, you can actually go in there. You're going to want to go ahead and reset the DPF life. Put on there, hey, look, boom, I replaced the DPF. I cleaned the DPF. You could actually do that with the scan tool, which is super impressive. So we're going to go right here and go by system. Let's try to do this. So we got the 5.2 N series here. That's the engine. And this thing actually gives you like a lot of freaking different Isuzu models. But the thing that I love is that they have all the models that I work with. So I'm not worried about like, oh, you know, can I connect, can I not connect? No, yeah, I can connect to every single one. So now, once we get here, we're going to go to the actuation test. One thing that you don't want to do, you don't want to do the slow DPF regeneration. I've always been told that can actually harm the actual DPF filter, because it actually stays at a high temperature for way too long, which ends up kind of burning them. You know, you have too much soot in there, you're too high, you're too hot for too long, cause damage. You can melt the filter. So I always been, in my training and my understanding is that you go ahead and you do the DPF normal regeneration. So after you replace it, you're gonna want to clear the data. I already did that, so you know I'm not gonna worry about that at all. I already cleared it. So we're gonna go right here to DPF regeneration. One thing that you want to know, you think that you might have problems with the scan tool, you probably don't. If your truck is not regenerating as soon as you tell it to, remember, it has to be up to temperature. If it's not up to temperature, it's not gonna go through. Just letting you know. So you got engine speed must be at idle. You can't be on the gas. You can't be on the brake. You can't do that. It says click the normal button. It says wait for the DPF to illuminate. Once initiated, the test cannot be stopped with IDSS, even if the stop button was pressed. No, to stop the test, if you want to stop the test on these trucks, you go ahead and step on the brake. You put it in gear. You know, you put it in drive. You know, you hit the gas. That's going to stop the test. And this gives you like really, really good proprietary information. Important. It says clear DPF data and DTCs before performing the forced regen. What you want to do, because if you don't clear the data and you don't, you know, clear the fault code, it's not going to do the regen. It's just not going to do it. It says important. If the DPF status 40 appears, drive the vehicle until the status changes, which may take up to 30 minutes. And then perform the regen. And as I was telling you guys earlier, whenever you get that message right there, it's because your engine is not hot enough. So you want your engine to be hot. You want to be able to, you know, have it up to temperature, because that's the only way that the regen is going to work. There's a lot of things that you have to have right for the regen to work. Word of caution: don't do a regen, you know, on top of some you know, some old, dry, you know, grass, because, you know, you could actually cause a fire. You know, there's a lot of things you got to be careful with. Don't touch the exhaust system. It gets up to like 1200 degrees. Don't get near it. Don't smoke near it. Don't be around anything that can catch flames. You have to be very careful. You know, you got to be careful for yourself and others. But now let's get back into it, right? So now that we're here, let me show you how to do this. You're going to go ahead and confirm that. Once you confirm that, you see right here, it says, hey, you're at 30. You're at a normal level. You're hot enough. You can go into the regen. Now, one thing that I want you to look at, guys, look at the exhaust temperatures. This right here is going to tell you, hey, you know what? Am I getting hot enough? Am I not hot enough? If I'm not getting hot enough, do I, A, have a fuel problem? B, have an air problem? C, maybe have like a, you know, a fifth injector problem. It just depends, but, you know, you're going to have to see. You're going to have to find out. This right here will give you all the information that you need. As you can see, I got a brand new DPF filter. The exhaust differential pressure is 0.04, which is amazing, which is great. Brand new filter from the factory. One thing that you want to do, you replace your filter. Go ahead and blow out those lines that go to your particulate filter differential pressure sensor. Of course, you don't want to have the pressure sensor in line because you can actually damage it. You want to take those lines off, blow them out. You don't want to have any kind of soot in there. If you got soot in there, may cause blockage, may cause that actual parameter to be higher than normal, and guess what? You may have a fault. You may regen too often. You will have problems. Always make sure that everything's put back clean. Make sure that you don't have no issues with that. All right, next thing that you're going to want to look at is your temperature. I'm up to 172 degrees, so guess what? We're good. We can run this test whenever we want. Engine speed is 650. This tells you the runtime. Diagnostic trouble codes. Set this ignition. No, we don't have any. Now, whenever you're doing Cummins and some of the other trucks, it actually gives you some details right here, and it gives it to you in like some yellow lettering, and it says, hey, warning, have your parking brake installed, have the truck in neutral, have all these conditions set so you can actually run your regen. Here, what we're doing is we're going to go ahead and run the regen, and it's this easy. Look, you're going to go ahead and start. Boom, it was successful. Now it's actually giving you the chance to go ahead and run your regen. Boom, running your regen as we speak. The real cool thing about this is that, like, look, man, a lot of these trucks cannot be regen just by pushing that button. Yes, that button does cause it to actually go into the regen, but a lot of these trucks actually get locked out. Why? You get one check engine light, and usually that button doesn't work. Usually that button doesn't work because the driver doesn't know how to do it. Hell, you miss a regen, and this thing will lock it out. Now, look, word of advice. You're trying to run a regen on most of these trucks, that button right there, you're going to want to hold that button down for 5 seconds. Let it go. Hit it quickly one more time, and it should cause most, if not all, trucks to go into a regen. So that's something important to know. Now that we're here, look, I'm going to be very honest. This is going to be one of my first YouTube videos that I made. So no, I didn't edit. No, I don't have any fancy music. I don't have any of that. It's just a video. Later on, once I get some views, maybe if I get followers, I'll do that. But for right now, I'm just not. So look, what we're seeing here, this right here tells you 220 temp rise for regen. Right here, this is pretty much telling you, like, hey, you know what? Let me give it some extra fuel. We're gonna start regenning. Now you could actually back out of this screen and go to the other screens and look at all the different parameters. It's up to you. You back out of here, it's not gonna kick you out of the regen. So once it actually gets up to the higher temperatures, about like 800, 900 degrees, when it's getting up to like the 1200 degrees, you'll see that this will say it'll change to 370 temp rise for regen. It may not even say temp rise for regen. It's going to say 370, and it's going to say a few other words over here. But what that's telling you is that, like, hey, you know what? I'm already in the mode. I'm in the zone. We're regenning. We're baking. We're cooking. The whole regen thing is like that's a whole nother video. But pretty much it's like you got a filter that catches soot. You're going to bake that soot, and you're going to convert it to ash, and you're going to store it. And you actually store it in one of these filters. And after it's stored, it can only store so much ash. After a while, your back pressure is too high. You know what? You got to take that joker off. You got to get it up, either back blasted, or you can replace it. Some companies have programs to where they actually send the filter back in. Some companies have it to where they're like, hey, you know what? We're not sending you jack. We're putting on a new filter, and we're going to warranty this one out. It just depends how your company does it. If you look, I got tons of freaking filters over there. I'm talking about like Cummins, we got Isuzus, we got all types of stuff over there that we need to turn back in for warranty. But anyways, back to our main point of our video. Okay, boom, there goes 370 active regen. What you're gonna see is that I actually did a regen earlier, so I mean I don't really have to. I'm just doing it for video purposes. But what you're gonna see is your EGT, which is exhaust gas temperature. At some point, that's gonna get into like about like the mid 1100s or so, and when it does, you're good. If it doesn't get there, then you know that you probably have like a fuel issue, maybe a restriction. Hell, you could even have possibly air getting into there. You can have issues with your fuel tank. You can actually even have issues with the wrong fuel. So one thing that I'm going to warn you guys, you're working on this truck, always make sure that they got the right fuel. We have a lot of people that like to put gas inside the fuel tank, even though it's diesel. Also, we have guys that love to put freaking fuel inside of the DEF tank, so you got to check for all that. But anyways, back to the video. So you know, we're doing pretty good. Fuel temps are good. Mass airflow is good. The engine speed is great. We got a runtime right here. As you can see, you know, these temperatures are coming up. Boom. Now, as a matter of fact, if you want to check the switch, you can actually hit the switch, and while you're hitting the switch, this right here will actually go from off to on. Obviously, it's off because I'm not actually even touching it. So look, you back out of here, you're good. You don't got to worry about nothing. It's not gonna stop. It's not gonna stop the regen. You know, one of the best things that I like to do is, you know, you can back out of there and you can say, hey, you know what? I want to look at the parameters. What is this engine doing? What is it not doing? What information can it give me? And to me, like, this is so valuable because, you know, if you know what you're doing and you know what you're working with, it's like, you know, you can say, hey, you know what, this isn't right, or hey, I need to, you know, repair this. I need to look up this. So you could actually look up trouble codes, which is really cool. It's a really cool feature. You can look up your trouble codes. You can do driving tests. You can get vehicle information, calibrations. This is actually very important because there is times where there's updates that you have to do to these trucks. So that's very important. Let me see. ECU names, boom, boom, boom. Engine control, ECM, okay, boom, we got that. Calibration identifications, boom, we got that. Vehicle number. You want to go buy a vehicle? This is very important. You want to go buy a vehicle, man? You want to make sure that whatever VIN is on that dash that's on the frame, you want to make sure that you don't have a stolen engine, or that you don't, you know, that everything's matching up. Because look, hey, I live in Houston, Texas, man, and they do a lot of questionable things over here, especially with cars. So many stolen cars, so many cars that I don't even remember what they call them, but like people steal cars and then they just put a bunch of fake VINs, you know, off of a truck that's totaled or whatnot. So be careful. So let me see, data streams. You know, this thing right here just gets tons of data for you. You know, a bunch of parameters, and you're gonna want to actually look at all this stuff while you're diagnosing. But this thing is amazing. You know, this thing will tell you, you know, hey, you know, the mill was, you know, reset this many miles ago, which is really good. Atmospheric pressure, which is 15, is usually close to 14.9, but there we are. Look, you can actually check your good God, what's it called? You can check your alternator. You can check the output. Ambient temperature 93. It's very hot outside, to be honest. Let me get this centered. Fuel rates, air temperature, atmospheric pressure. Look at that. Number of warm-ups since the DTC was cleared. Not that many, because we just cleared it. We just changed out the filter. Oh, sorry. But I mean, like, look, all the parameters that you need, man, you got them here. This is an amazing tool. Gives you so much information. Look at that. Diesel particulate filter bank 1 delta pressure 0.08, which is great. I actually believe this thing even gives you the NOx readings. Give me a second. Hold on, let me see. It'll come up right now. Let me see. So, sometimes this stuff is slow to come out. Sometimes it's pretty fast. But either way, you got tons of information. Let me see. Oh, no. Not clear triple code. We're already good. It's already been performed. Onboard monitor test. See, I believe that's what I sent them a report for. Because I'm like, hey, you know, what do you do with this? I'm not really sure. On most of the actual automotive cars, it will tell you about like misfires and stuff like that. Let's see, information. Plus missions related to TC service. Okay, so see, we're good. If it actually had a fault code, it would actually, you know,